Right, wheels. We like wheels. They're good, aren't they, Tyler? But they get complicated. I can cope with roundness, but then it gets on to TPMS, and it's a subject I've chosen to ignore. But I'll explain why, we've had to embrace and learn a little bit about TPMS. And I'm going to share the knowledge I've learned in the last half an hour with you and pretend I know something about it. Right. TPMS, tyre pressure monitoring system. Now, a lot of accidents are caused by underinflated or overinflated tyres. So I think it's actually a legal requirement. A lot of new cars now have to be fitted with TPMS, and it can be a bit of a headache. But basically, it's wizardry again, isn't it? But basically, you have a little valve. There you go, I'll show you, and I'll explain why we need to. It's a little box of wizardry that sits inside your wheel, inside your tyre. And what it does is it must have a pressure sensor in here, and it reads the pressure, the air pressure inside the tyre, and it transmits it through 433 megahertz frequency, different in other regions, to a central computer, and that then tells you if you've got a problem. Now, obviously you've got 4, maybe 5 wheels because you've got a spare wheel. Now, as I understand it, and someone will probably correct me, please do, it works out which wheel it has got each reading purely by the signal strength. So they positioned the module somewhere in the car in such a way that the front left may be closer than the front right, and they look at signal strength and get the values. So it's all fine and good, it's all working, it tells you which tyre to pump up. Now, they actually get, one interesting thing is they get their energy, because obviously they've got to transmit, so they generate it themselves. Inside the wheel, there has got some, I think it's piezoelectric, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that the movement of the wheel of you driving creates just enough energy for it to talk to the master ship that sits there, the control box that's listening for the signals. Now, I think with lockdown, my mum, she's got a Mini Cooper, and she was saying where she didn't use it for weeks, months on end, the tyre pressure monitoring system, and I wonder, it's just a guess, a hypothesis if you like, that where she hadn't driven it, the sort of internal battery inside that had gone flat, and so when she drove it again, it all got good. So why are we messing with all this wizardry, Tyler? It's leaking. So it's got all that technology, and we took it up the tyre shop, and just the little village garage, and he said, he did a little, we had a puncture, we thought we had a puncture, but he said, no, it's your valve leak, and he's going, it's all too complicated, it's tyre pressure monitoring system. So I was like, right, Tyler, get the wheel off, let's have a look at it, and let's see if we can work out what we need to do. So we went on the parts catalogue system, and you can buy this kit here with this part number here, and we'll put this on the website for sale. Now we like to put things for sale when we work out what they are. And you've got these nice, and they're a nice light alloy. And what you've got here is you've got your sort of valve stem with a nice little cap. There you go. And you've got your Schrader one-way air valve in here. That's all very nice. But what you do get that's more important is you get the new little rubber sealy bit. And I think that's the villain of the piece here, isn't it, Tyler? That little badger there. So we thought, well, let's buy a kit of these. Now, they come as a kit of 5. They weren't drastically expensive when you look at the machining, but I guess they're high volume. These are all nice machine alloy. Right, so let's get this off, and there's a bit more to it than that. But let's get it off first and have a look what the deal is. Now, we haven't done this yet, have we, Tyler? No. It could be a bit more complicated. Yes. Right, let's spin it over. Now, there's all sorts of important numbers written on it that we will get to. Now, we have had a little bit of help. We've called Richard at RCA Automotive, and he knows everything there is to know about tyre pressure monitoring systems.
What size socket is it?
A 12, which is not a common one, because it's normally 11 or 13 or 10, isn't it? So it's one of the ones we've never lost, Tyler, the 12mm socket. He's always there, isn't he?
Yeah.
The 10s are the offender, isn't he? Right, so there we go. So I have just taken that off. So this is the valve that gets all nasty and dirty, and then in here you've got that rubber seal. Now he looks quite compressed. So this is the order. You should have your cap, then this. Let me lie them on the table here, Tyler. So it's that. Then this comes off here, and there's a little collar, but if I can, there we go, look, so then it's, I'll put them in the order they come off. Don't drop it though, Tyler. Right, now we'll have to work out which way that goes. It might be ambidextrous, if you know what I mean. And then that goes, and notice the chamfer is towards the valve cap. Can you see that cut out? The bottom face is the flat face. The valve cap face is the one. It's got a little recess to take there. And that is that. And that is the, now this is the bit I haven't quite, oh look at that, Tyler. So that sort of got a tricky thing where you can sort of, there you go, and there you go, it comes out there. So these are the components. Now, let's talk about these in turn. So this here, this is, really, it's got some nice little encapsulation on the back. And there we go. And that is that. Now, apparently there's a number on here, Q handkerchief. And apparently we're looking for a number. Now, Tyler got this out. So what I'll do, rather than, I will take a picture now in my phone. Right, through the wonders of iPhone technology, I'll put it on the screen so you can see it. But you can see this GX number here. We'll talk about that in a minute, right? Which is located at the bottom half. And then at the top half, right then, what we're looking at is that 433. So much like with the activity key the other day, there are two frequencies. So a radio frequency. So certain regions, basically the rest of the world is different to America. 433 megahertz is the radio frequency set aside in most of the world for automotive, remote control key fobs, and clearly tyre pressure monitoring valves and activity keys. That's allocated for that, especially for that, so it doesn't interfere with microwave cooking or other stuff. So they set aside a band for that. In the US it's 315. So make sure if you get offered a load of cheap tyre pressure and monitoring valves, make sure first of all that you're going like for like frequency. So if you're 433, you need to. Now, Richard did say that he thinks that what he's seeing now is most of the ones fitted seem to be 433, even potentially for the US, but I'm not sure about that. But there we go. Right, so make sure you get the same frequency, because for sure your receiver unit in your car will be either 315 or 433. So it'll be talking a different language if you don't get it the same. Right, so we've got that. So we want to keep this. There's nothing wrong with this on our car. So we now need to, right, shall I talk about the GX numbers? So, right, let's just do a little history lesson here. So get to a position where it's not dazzling the screen, Tyler. Again, I can put this up actually on the video. But this first one here is the early type of tyre pressure monitor valve. Now, the key here is you cannot change this stem. This stem is sort of linked to this. It's not removable. So if you've got the early type, if you look down here, you can actually change the seal, but you can't change the whole stem. The later type, which is what we've just removed, is this type, but it comes in two versions. Now, if you've got the GX type, so that's the number it will work on a car that was fitted with the FW93 type. But if you find a cheap FW93 type tyre pressure monitoring valve, it will not work if your car was built with the GX63. So this one's backwards compatible, this one is not forwards. And here's the excerpt from the part system. So you can buy just the seal, the cap and that, or we chose for, and it was actually cheaper, wasn't it, Tyler? Yeah. This was bonkers. You could buy all these bits here for cheaper than just this. So there's some bonkers pricing going on somewhere there. And obviously then there's your whole valve. You can buy the whole valve assembly if you so want to do. Right, so there we go. Right, what are we going to do now? So we fit this new tyre pressure. Now, it does come with some instructions, but they made absolutely no sense to me. Tyler, do they? I think that's a wheel and a number one. Got no idea what that's about. That looks like a close-up of a wheel with some sort of rotation and speed there. And then that's got some pushing it on. So there we go.
Trying to tell you how to find it without taking the tyre off.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, if you're finding it in the dark. Don't know. Right. Right, so we need to take this and we need to do this in. Now, obviously there is a way for this to go in, isn't there? Will it only go in?
It's idiot proof.
Is it? Let's hope so, Tyler. Let's hope so. Yeah, I don't know, but when I took it out, no, it sort of went more like that, didn't it? Yeah, that seems to be the way. Yeah, so it is idiot proof. So the small, that's sort of a wedge there. So the pointy side of the wedge needs to go in, and it will go in. And I think indeed it is idiot proof because, well, no, yeah, but that looks weird, doesn't it? Because it was neatly against the valve here, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, we are right. So it is the pointy side of the wedge goes in. Right, we're good. We're starting here, Tyler. Right, then first hurdle. Then we need to get this with the flat side against there. And obviously it's going to be, I think that side is going to be on the inside where it's close to the tyre. That makes sense, doesn't it? Right, now is this washer symmetrical? No, it's not. He's got a fat side and a thin side, hasn't he, Tyler? Yeah. You see what I mean? One rim is... Yeah. Is it going to focus or not?
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah. So we've got to work out which side the fat side goes. So let's try it. I think the fat side's going to sit into the... Let's try it on this one here. So... I think the fat side is going to...
That looks the best.
It does look the best, doesn't it? Let me just see if those instructions tell me any clearer. Oh yeah, they do look, Tyler. You can just see. So the fat side of that is nearer the box of wizardry, right? Fat side nearer the box of wizardry, and that's what I've got. Yeah. So the fat side of that. And he's gonna. I don't wanna. There you go. Right. So the fat side of that near the box of wizardry. Right, and that should be ready to go in then, and then the collar goes on the outside. So let's just have a look how that lines up in the wheel. Again, sorry, we're not professional. We're making it up as you go along. So what I'm thinking is, obviously, want to make sure all this is clean, Tyler, because otherwise, if there's some dust on there, we're just gonna.
Is it stuck down before?
It does look like it's got. No. It looks like it's maybe just got hot, and there was perhaps a label on there that's just. But there doesn't. Yeah, it was just a barcode label at Tyre. It looks like he's had better days. Right, so let's have a look at that. What I'm fascinated about is why that other bit is. What I might do is let's get one. Let's stop a minute and let's get one without the valve on and see where that flat bit lies. Right, it doesn't seem to matter on this wheel. It seems that there is sufficient room every way round for that. It doesn't seem to see any have any issue there, and that definitely goes at that end. So on some wheels you might be tighter. You might have less room here, and you'll need to be careful how you line that up. But I can't see that we've got any issue on this rim, Tyler. Right, someone comment, let us know. So there we go. Right, so we are ready to put that new one on. Where's my new one gone, Tyler? Right, there we go. And my new thing. So there we go. So I think, now, the last thing is, obviously we fit this. Now, apparently when you fit them, will that get tight? Yeah, that will hold it tight, yeah. And there's no room for that to move, so. Will it go over the cap? It will. Apparently you've got to drive the car at 50 miles an hour. Now I wonder again if that's you probably got to wait a moment of time for the battery to charge in these, possibly, if you're fitting new ones, because they're not going to have, they're going to be sat on the shelf and they're not going to be piezoelectric in much, are they? No. Right then, Tyler, are you happy with that? Right, so we are going to go up to the tyre shop, get that tyre put on, and we will get Tyler to report back to us if that's done the job. Right, one bonus thing. We just put the part number for this valve into the computer, into the part number system, and it kind of fits everything. So you got Freelander 2 L322 from 2010, Disco 4, the Sport L320 from 2010, the Evoque all years, even the Evoque 2, the new one, the Sport L494, the L405, the Discovery Sport, the Discovery 5, the V-Lar, and the new Defender, all using. Now the good thing about that, Tyler, is obviously the stud patterns are the same on a lot of these. There's sort of, oh gosh, wheels, boom. But there's two. There's the small wheels, which are the Freelander 2 wheel stud pattern Evoque, and the Discovery Sport, I think, are the smaller ones. And then there's the big ones, which are the L320, L322, Disco 5 and Defender. You can swap the wheels around between those. You have to watch your offsets, but the stud pattern's the same. So the good thing is these TPMS valves are all the same. You should be able to get a set of wheels off your Disco 5 and put them on your Defender, and after a little drive they should all sync up. So it's kind of cool. It aids interchangeability of wheels. So one thing I will add is a link to the Land Rover site where it gives you all some details about, and there's a couple of interesting things in here. One is that they're recommending you should change the valve stem with every, it's got some explanation, references the spare and spare wheel changing. So I'll put the link there so you can read all this. This bit here, it says the valve stem, seal, nut and core should be replaced every time tyre change. So that's interesting. So if you are having tyres fitted, you may want to buy a kit of these and take them to the tyre shop and ask them to swap over those at the same time. And obviously it does recommend the torques. It says it has to be torqued, but unfortunately the Land Rover instructions don't actually give you the torque settings, but it does say it's 18 miles per hour when it starts to recognise, and it says for approximately 10 minutes. So one thing to watch is when you torque up the cap, you need to get it to the right torque, because they're only aluminium. If you over tighten it, you're going to strip the thread, which isn't going to be good. So the recommended torque is around 6 Newton meters, which isn't very much, or 53 inch-pounds. That's where you need to be roughly. So there we go, a little introduction to TPMS valves. Sorry we're making it up as we go along, but that's kind of our style. Good luck with that.